about 631 Radio Graffiti?
Ghost, it's Hitman Cos.
Hey, what's up, Hitman?
No, not much, man. Actually, I'd like to shed some light as to why the Dreamcast didn't sell as good as it did, if you don't mind.
All right, go ahead, man. I'd like to know. Go ahead.
Well, thing is, unfortunately, the previous systems, the Saturn, the CD, they didn't sell and perform well, and because of that, even though they got it right with the Dreamcast, the damage was already done.
Dude, the Sega Saturn rocked. All right?
Yeah.
And the Sega Dream Gear, the Game Gear, fucking rocked. Way ahead of... I mean, screw you. I'm sorry. Never mind. I'm sorry, Hitman. You got me to say something I wasn't supposed to. Anyway, it was better than the Game Boy. All right? But no! Everybody became a fucking Nintendo whore and decided that, you know what, I like LCD calculator fucking graphics, and let me go ahead and pay. And that's when fucking Nintendo knew they had. I mean, they were like the first, like, they were the Japanese Trump. They were the Japanese Trump. That's what fucking Nintendo was. They knew that, hey, look, we got a fucking bunch of idiots over here. We can literally sell them anything. And here, about a couple of years ago, they sold you morons, what was it, cardboard periphery bullshit. All right? Cardboard bullshit that, like, look, you know, here's like $80 for this cardboard, and then you can, like, bend it, and then you, like, you attach it to your fucking Switch or whatever. You people are tards. You people are absolute tards, and I'm sorry. I mean, Nintendo, you should be ashamed of yourself, but of course you're not. What have I got?
And here I am with my afterthoughts. Now, contrary to belief, I had absolutely nothing, and I repeat, nothing to do with that slip, and I had no intention of making that slip happen either. But in any case, time for my afterthoughts, and I gotta say, you know, when it comes to the Sega systems, you know, it's I'd say like sort of like a teeter-totter, little inconsistent, you know, something like that. Because I'd say things were going good with the Sega Genesis, and keep in mind, I'm only speaking from experience. You know what I'm saying? Because I've had these systems, I've played these systems, so I'd like to think that I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, the Dreamcast, yeah, was dope. The Genesis was dope. As a matter of fact, my fondest memories in gaming are with both the Genesis and the Dreamcast. Now, as far as why the Dreamcast flopped again, and sure, I will not deny how good the Sega systems are, just as Ghost described it. But here's the problem: just because something is good and like plays well or performs well, doesn't always, you know, hit. And also, you gotta think of the reputation, the past experiences, which is why I said, you know, Sega finally got it right when it came to the Dreamcast, but the damage was done. And the reason why I said that was because, sure, yes, the Saturn, I'd say was decent, and maybe the CD and Game Gear had their moments, but as far as I knew, both the CD and the Game Gear flopped. And like, I say that it flopped because like, when it came to the amount of money they put into it, it didn't you know, so it didn't they didn't, I'd say, break even, you know. They didn't make more than what they spent on making the system, you know. And then on top of that, as far as the games you could play, like the Saturn, for example, you know, they were a little stingy with it, if I'm being honest. But you know, it is what it is. And then the Sega CD, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, I can't speak on that because I never had it. Like, I hadn't, and I know, you know, it was technically still a part of the Genesis, but yeah, I never had it. I mean, I had the 16-bit add-on, which kicked ass, but, and I also had the 32X add-on, again, kicked ass, but yeah, never had the CD. And then I never had the Game Gear, but at the same time, I knew a lot of people that had it, but I did not hear good things about it. And then Ghost, you know, he wanted to mention how Nintendo had everybody, you know, in a stranglehold with some of the products, but you gotta understand, in contrast to Sega, Nintendo did have them beat with certain stuff. Now I'll admit, comparing the Dreamcast to the Nintendo 64, graphics wise, then yes, the Dreamcast is better, at least from what I've seen. Like, forgive the stereotype, but if I'm comparing basketball games, the NBA Live games, graphics-wise, on the Nintendo 64 sucked the chrome off of a 57 Chevy bumper. Whereas you played the 2K games, and I know it's a little unfair considering the years we're talking about, but let's put it this way: you compare NBA Live 2000 on the Nintendo 64 to NBA 2K on the Dreamcast, and the graphics, you know, there's no competition. Like, if I'm being honest, the only game I can think of, you know, where the Nintendo 64's graphics shined was the Pokemon games. That's it. And not including Pokemon Snap, like just the Pokemon games. Now, back to what I was saying about the Game Gear. And this is, you know, a credit to what he was saying about Nintendo. And in this case, Nintendo had them beat, because they were already leaps and bounds ahead of them with the Game Boy. And the Game Boy already, you know, it was hitting strides that the Game Gear did, and as far in that regard, they just couldn't keep up, you know. and you know, once the Dreamcast came out, there was two problems. Problem number one is problem number one is the fact that you know, again, because of the past reputation of Sega consoles performing poorly, you know, people didn't have much faith in Sega. And at that point, that's number one. And then number two, they were already competing against popular consoles like the 64 and eventually the PlayStation. And the PlayStation especially, you know, what more can be said, you know? And comparing and considering the giant that Sony has become, you know, it's actually no, I'm wilding. Well, yeah. So the PlayStation and the PS2. So comparing, you know, comparing it to that, you know, it really didn't have a chance, if I'm being honest. Because, you know, to this day, everyone knows the PS2 is the most successful game console known to man. The most successful console ever released. So yeah. And again, I'm not taking anything away from the Dreamcast, because I absolutely loved the Dreamcast. I had the Dreamcast, and sure, forgive the stereotype or whatever, I got it via a hand-me-down, but it doesn't take away how great it was, because it was great. I had endless fun. And not just with the 2K games, with other games too. For example, San Francisco Rush 2049. That game, boatloads, and I mean boatloads of fun. And I did play Sonic, but the thing is, I was too broke to own Sonic. Like I had it for Dreamcast. I mean for Genesis, but I was too broke to own it for Dreamcast. But you know, that's all I got to say on the matter. Before I head out, I want to give a couple shout outs to some people. First off, I want to give a big shout out to my boy Haywood. What's goody, yo? I want to give a shout out to Phil Harvey, Anubis. Want to give a big shout out to Kits as a Flip. Want to give a shout out to the debate. Want to give a shout out to William Travis, J Sev. Oh, you know what I'm saying? And all the crew that we normally hang out with. I know. I forgot a lot of y'all. I apologize, but it's too many of y'all for me to remember offhand. Just shout out to all of y'all. And with that being said, that's gonna do it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I definitely want to thank each and every one of y'all for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and chill with your boy. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Comment if you feel like it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. And as always, by way of Struggle Vision Productions, I am the Hitman Kaz. And if you see me coming, run.